Hi ladies, I'm Jan Hart and I want to welcome you to Premier and let you know you have made a great decision. We're so glad to have you be a part of our family. I'm going to be visiting with you today about bookings, and I want to get started off really quick and let you know that Premier is based on the principle of honoring God and serving people. And what we've found is when you operate with a servant's heart, you're going to see that it really changes everything in your business, but also not just in your business, in your life. Now, first of all, your training show is not an indication of your success. It's just kind of your start. Some of you, as you're watching this, you may have already had your training show or your launch party, as we call it now, and some of you may have not. But don't try to reinvent the wheel. I want you to just copy your Premier mom. That's the best thing that you can do. And just think about the first 10 to 12 of your jewelry shows being just practice. And pay off your investment really quickly. That's one of your first goals when you start and do those first quick start shows, is have that intensity to get that paid off. And also, I want you to call your Premier mom a lot. You know, we hear sometimes, oh, I don't want to bother you, but we're never busy. You're our priority, and we want to hear from you. And often just asking your sponsor a quick question can save you a lot of grief. And so we want you to communicate and connect. We can't read your minds, and we want to be there to help you and encourage you and cheer for you every step of the way. Also, be sure that you get your upline's contact information, not just your Premier moms, but your grandma and your great-grandma, because all of them have a vested interest in your success. Now, when you got Premier, your kit, and I know this will be backwards, but in your kit is this little booklet called It's a Premier Life, and that's going to be your Premier Bible. So keep that. It has everything you need. You can refer to it a lot. I think it's a good thing to read it once a year. But be patient as you're learning this business. Think about learning a bicycle. It took you a while to do that, and it took you practice. And you didn't ride it one day and then put your bike in the garage. You rode it day after day after day, and then one day your dad let go of that bike and you were riding. So you need to practice, and just remember you have to be a little patient. This business is a learn by doing business. So don't quit. Two things make success: persistence and consistency. So don't give up. Just keep pressing on. Remember why you decided to join Premier, and that may change along the way, but always know your why, because that is at the foundation of driving you forward and keeping you hanging in there sometimes when it gets difficult. Strive to be consistent and persistent. Sometimes we say strive to be consistently persistent. That's kind of hard to say. But I want you to take ownership of your business. Your Premier mom is there to help you, but it is your business. Now, let's talk about initial bookings, because bookings are the foundation of your business. If you don't have any shows, you don't have any business. So that's the very first thing we want to empower you to know how to do. Why do people want to have shows? That's important for you to know, and to have that really deep within your heart. Number one is they want to have fun. Nowadays, women are so busy. They love the 2 hours of a getaway for getting away from the stress of life. That's the number one reason. Number two is maybe the free jewelry. Number three, to help the hostess. Number four, they like you and they want to help you in your business. And then also, they might like, as number five, they might like the incentive you're giving away if you're giving them something. So these are reasons why people book, and you want to be sure that you know those and have those grounded in your heart. Now, the show's got to be super, super simple to be worth other people's time. Nowadays, women are so busy. So we want to keep the show simple, not only for the women coming to our shows, but also for you. So you're not having to reinvent the wheel every time you leave your home. I want you to remember that this has always helped me. Just become a friend with the customers and your hostesses. Treat them like they're your best friend, even before you really know them. Be yourself, develop rapport, and have genuine enthusiasm and excitement. You don't want to be scary over the top, jewelry lady, but you do want to have a lot of excitement. And one of the things that helped me the most, y'all, was just when I settled into just being me and myself. You're the best you the Lord made, and that will calm you down and make you comfortable. Also, I want you to know that this premiere journey is a process, and it's a learned skill on how to ask people for jewelry shows. Sometimes it takes time for other people to even kind of warm up to the idea. They're thinking, they're processing. So sometimes I think we misinterpret that as they don't want to have a show when they're really just thinking through it and trying to figure out all the details. Most women are thinkers. It also helps if you, instead of use words or language like have a show or book a show, that's kind of scary language. It's better if you say or just describe what the event is. For example, we're going to just get a few girlfriends together. I'll bring my jewelry and we'll have fun playing in it, talking about fashion. That's so much less threatening than, do you want to have a show? So keep your language very simple and just describe the show and paint a picture of what's going to happen and how it will be super fun and simple. Your enthusiasm is really the key. And as you think through who might have a show, on the Terrell's website, there's a great list of about 40 different ideas of a little scavenger hunt that you can actually think of to try to get these different types of people to date shows for you. And so that's a good list. Now, I want to talk to you a little bit about the very first shows that you will date, and I want you to have your calendar prepared and know how many shows you want to date. You know, do you want 5 in a month? Do you want 10 in a month? And that's going to be dictated a lot by how much money you need to earn, or your fun factor, how much, if you're doing this for fun, how much fun you need to have being out doing style shows. One of the things I like to do is use these little tabs in my calendar. I saw this trained on years ago, and you can stick these stickers, let the colors represent your personal life or your shows, or when you're out of town, whatever, however you want to color code them. I'm kind of a visual person. But prepare your calendar, know how many shows you want. Know also that in any given month we deal with people, and with people come cancellations. People have life things happen, and so we always say to overbook. You're going to have about 20% of your shows rescheduled. So if you want 10 shows on your calendar, I would say schedule 12. If you want 5, schedule a few more, 7 or 8. That way, if you lose some, then you're right where you need to be. It's better to overbook than to underbook. Also, you might want to highlight, or like I said, use those tabs and have a goal. Don't just go into it going, well, I'll see. Have a goal of how many shows that you want. Now, you probably heard people talk about a plan A, plan B, plan C. Well, we have this wonderful little system of how to ask for bookings. And when you talk to people, I would love for you to talk to them in person or on the phone, because they need to hear your tone of voice. You'll accomplish a whole lot more, a lot quicker if you do talk to them in person. But on the phone is fine. Just practice this verbiage. It will be printed on the Terrell's website and you can practice, but I want to go over it with you. It's best not to leave a message or try to write the world's best email and send that out in a mass email to all your friends. That's the least effective way to get bookings. It's just personally connecting. It's really simple. Don't want you to leave a message. Just if you can't get them on the phone, you might say that you'll try back later, or to have them let you know when's a good time to call them back. Also, I do not want you right now really to do the world's best text, although we do have some texting verbiage that you can use if you must. I just feel like it's better when you can talk in person, because they hear your tone of voice. You can listen and ask open-ended questions, which will get them verbalizing their thoughts, which is what you need to hear. So, plan A is to ask for a style show, a jewelry show, an event, whatever you want to call that. Plan B is, let's say they can't do that for you for whatever reason, then it's to invite them to your launch party. And the question always comes up, well, if I invite them to have a show, should I also invite them to my launch party? Yes. You want anyone who's having a show to come to your show, to experience what it's like, to get prepared, maybe get some of the jewelry to be wearing, because when you wear this jewelry, people will like it and they want it. That helps draw them to their show. So plan A is to ask them to have a show. Plan B is to come to your launch party. Now, if for some reason they can't come to your launch party, we typically will have you do a practice show right after the launch party within the first week. So If they can't come to your launch party, then we kind of have a plan B1, B2. B2 is, could they come to your practice show? I wouldn't tell them or mention the practice show until you've invited them to the launch party and they tell you they can't come. Then you can invite them to the practice show. Plan C is, would they can't have a show, they can't come to the launch party or the practice show, would they, Plan C, pass the catalog around and see if anyone would like to order? And if you do that, that actually counts as an event for you. So that's Plan C. Now, if they tell you no, they can't have a show, they tell you no, they can't come to your launch party, no, they cannot come to your practice show, and no, they will not pass the catalog around, which all of this is very rare, I'll tell you. And D is the last thing, and let me tell you, most of you will never get to D. You're going to get A, B, B1, B2, or C, and this is so wonderful, but Plan D is, if they tell you no, would they allow you to share a little bit with them about your business? And how are you going to do that? You're going to do that with the little link that's on your website that Mandy Eaton at our home office created for us. That is a wonderful way, that's a professional way to share the business in a real quick way. So let's go over how this works. Plan A sounds like this. Hey Susie, it's Jan. I'll only keep you a minute. I'm actually calling to ask you a huge favor. Now if they're busy, y'all, don't try to talk to them, just find out when is a better time. But notice that I kind of lower my voice there, I humble my tone. I'm calling to ask you for a huge favor. I really need your help. I'm starting a new business too, and there you'd want to fill in your blank, your why. For me, it was financial, so I might say something like, I'm starting a new business to help fund college for our 4 boys and get out of debt. That might have been my why. Yours may be something different, but the more personal you can be there, the more open and transparent, the more your friends are going to want to help you. So don't be afraid to share with them. Then I might say something like, have you ever heard of Premier Designs? Most people have, and they're very pleasantly responding to that. They love Premier. If they haven't, you can say, well, it's great. The jewelry is beautiful and it has a wonderful guarantee, and I've become a jewelry lady now. And here's the favor. I need 2 friends who will help me in my first week of business. Notice I didn't tell her whenever. I gave her my first week of business because we want to start working on filling your calendar from week to week. Okay, so you start with your first available date and then begin to move on. Notice we said I need 2 friends because we don't want to tell her we need 12 because then she'll feel like, go ask all your other friends. But if you ask for 2 and you're talking to her, she may feel like, wow, she may think I'm one of her only 2 friends to ask. I better help her. All right, so then you don't want to say book a show or have a show. You just want to describe what happens. So you tell her, all that means is that you'd allow me to come over to your home. I'll lay my jewelry out, maybe on your kitchen table. You invite a few friends over for some snacks. We'll play in the jewelry, talk about fashion, and have lots of fun. And you get free jewelry just for letting me come. Most of our hostesses get about $200 to $300 in free jewelry. What do you think? And girls, then you want to just be quiet. You don't want to talk right there because she's thinking and processing, and if you talk, you interrupt that process. Most jewelers have a tendency to get nervous, and the little demon of doubt jumps up here and says, she don't want to have a show, she don't want to do this, and they get nervous, they start talking, and they just sabotage the whole thing. Don't do that. The less you say here, the better. Speak clearly, calmly, stick to this script. It really works. The girls that go out and try to wing this, they come back to us and we're like, did you use the script? No, they didn't get bookings. This works, so trust us. It really is effective if you'll stick with it. It may feel kind of awkward at first, like riding that bike, because you haven't ever done it. You need to practice over and over. And if you'll do it back to back and ask over and over and over, you'll find you get better than if you ask and then stop and weeks later ask. That's like putting that bike back in the garage and never practicing on it again, okay? So practice back to back. So you're going to say, all that means is you'll allow me to come over to your home, lay out my jewelry on your kitchen table, you invite a few girlfriends to get together for snacks, we'll play in the jewelry, talk about fashion, have lots of fun, and you get free jewelry just for letting me come. What do you think? Then you're quiet. Now, if she says, I'm going to tell you, there are 3 answers that she's going to say. Okay, y'all probably know what they are. I'm going to give you the cheat sheet like I'm a teacher. 1, they might say yes. And if they say yes, you want to get the date on the calendar right then. Biggest mistake most jewelers make is they believe that person. They say, okay, we'll talk later. Then you never can get her. She's busy, you're busy. Then you worry as you try to call and you can't get her. And you fill in the blank because you think, oh, she doesn't want to have a show. Wrong. She's busy. Her schedule's crazy. It's not first on her list. This is not her business. So get the date right then when you are talking to her. Okay, I'm sorry, I forgot to turn my phone off. Now, this is more likely what happens. And on getting the date, you want to ask her, or you want to give her your first available date. Just like a doctor's office would. You call the doctor's office, they don't go, when do you want to come in? They say, we have the 17th. And if you can take it, great. If not, they offer you the next date. I want you to treat your jewelry business and your calendar that same way. Now, a whole bunch of people are going to be in the maybe category. That's the second answer you might hear. And if they give you a maybe, I do the same thing, girls, except for one word. And it's the word if. And I just begin with, well, Melissa, if you were going to have a jewelry show, I say it just like that. If you were going to have a jewelry show, would you need a weekday or a weekend? And by giving her the 2 choices of weekday, weekend, almost always you will hear a definitive, oh, there's no way I could do it in the week. And then you say, great, I do shows on Saturday. I have the 7th. How does that sound? Or if she says, oh, there's no way I could possibly do it on the weekend, you say, great, I do shows on Tuesdays and Thursdays. See, we're back to you knowing your calendar again. That's why that's so important. Then you can say, great, I have Thursday the 17th. And then you get the penciled in date. We use the language, let's just pencil in a date. It doesn't sound very threatening to her. And if we need to make a change, that we can. But offering choices will sometimes bring women to a point of decision. And if they're wishy-washy, maybe, just do the same thing you do with a yes, but use the word if. Now, if she's a no, I always assume that it's just not a good time for her, because that's what I've learned in doing this for 14 years. I found that when they tell us no, usually it's because it's not a good, they can't do it right then. They have a big wedding they're planning or a big event. They might want to do it in the future though. So I always just say, well, if now's not a good time for you, would you like for me to check back in the future? And they may say, oh yes, check back with me in 2 months. And I say, well, you know what? I'm actually dating shows right now for those 2 months, 2 months from now. And if we can pencil in a date right now, that'll give your friend Susie credit. So often I can still get a date, even if they tell me a no, that's a little further out, maybe than I'd want to, but at least I have a penciled in date. The main thing I want you to know is don't let them leave the jewelry show or your conversation without getting a date on the calendar. And if they tell you yes, always get that date, okay? Now, if they ever say, no, I don't want to do that, never call me back, never give me any free jewelry, this is very rare, and it's what everybody fears, that they'll hear a no, then I need to give you some language of what you can say to end that conversation and feel positive. If she says no, you say, hey, that's okay. Thank you so much for your time. Listen, would you mind doing me a favor? I bet you have some friends who would love to get free jewelry or have a girls' night out. Would you just keep your eyes and ears open for me? I'm actually looking for ladies who either love jewelry, would love to have that girls' night out, or even those who need to make some extra money. And when they hear that and they know you're not going to be hounding them, they're more than happy to give you a referral, often right then. So this really does work, and it's very, very effective. So remember, plan A was to see if she'd have a show. Plan B was to invite her to your training show, which sounds like this. Let's say that she tells you no on the show. Then you're going to say, oh, I totally understand. Hey, there is another way that you could help me out. I'm actually having my launch party on, give her the date, and I would love for you to come and see the jewelry in person and help me start my business. What do you think? And then you're quiet, you listen again. Don't interrupt her thinking. Wait to see what she says. Listen. Always, I always teach my jewelers to ask good questions that begin with what or how, so that the lady will give you what she's thinking in her mind. You don't want to ask a question that's a yes or no answer, because that kind of stops it. My little premier mom, Melissa Terrell, who's the best in our business and the top in our nation, she taught me to keep the dialogue going. And how do you do that? By asking good questions. So she says she can't come to your launch party. You move right on into inviting her to the practice show. Hey, that's okay. What would you think about coming to my practice show? I'm still going to have my jewelry out, and my premier mom's going to come over. I'm going to run through my show for practice, and I would love for you to come. Maybe even bring a friend. And you could even do this as a mystery hostess type show, where you give some of the free jewelry away to the customers that come and do a drawing. Or this could be another event for you in your quick start, because Girls Premier is so good to us. They let us do our own style shows anytime we want. So you could count this as yet another show. That practice show should be your first show after your launch party. That counts for you. All right, so anyways, we've got have a show. It's plan A. Plan B, come to my launch party. Plan B1, come to my practice show. If they tell you no, they can't do that, then you just move right on and you say plan C. Oh, Susie, I'm so sorry that you can't make it, but listen, there is another way that you can help me out. Hey, what would you think about passing the catalog around just to see if your friends might want to order? For collecting a minimum of $100 in orders, and you'll still get some free jewelry. Actually, now we have to change that. I caught myself. For collecting a minimum of $200 in orders, you'll get some free jewelry. So be sure it's $200. I apologize. And then again, you always want to show appreciation. Thank you so much for helping me out when they tell you yes. So plan C is to pass the catalog, get $200 in outside orders, and that would be an event for you, and she gets the hostess benefits or the hostess perks. If she says no, and this is very rare, then you're going to go to plan D, which is to let her hear about the business. No worries. There is one last way you could help me out. I'm trying to grow my business. Would you let me share with you a little bit about what I do? I'm sure you know some people who either need to make some extra money or who love jewelry. What do you think? I'll even give you a little gift for just letting me share, and a bigger gift if you refer someone who wants to have a jewelry show or wants to do the business. And there's always zero pressure in Premier, just information. So that's your plan A, B, C, D. Now, another thing that I want to end on is you're going to hear different objections. Don't take these personally. Sometimes women have to think about this. Sometimes they, when they tell you no, they're mostly fearing that the show might not be successful or that they might not be able to get people to come. So she's experiencing fear, and you can alleviate that fear by helping her and encouraging her and maybe even coaching her a little bit on what you can do to have a successful show. One of the biggest ones we hear right now is I'm too busy. You could say something like, hey, sounds like if you're that busy, you need a break. I'll do all the work. You just decide who to invite, and the rest is up to me. We're going to keep it super simple, and you've loved so many pieces here tonight. I'd really love to help you get some free. Now, you have to practice these objections. I would encourage you to write the objection on a card and the answer on the back. And there's a whole sheet of objections that are on the Terrell's website. Another one is, I don't know many people. Well, we don't need a large group to have a little jewelry style show. We can have you and a few, or you and a slew. Why don't we invite together, work on your list, and just see what happens, and you will be surprised. It doesn't take very many people to have a great show. Another thing we hear sometimes is everybody I know has already been to a show, or they're at this show. And I just say, well, it's like shopping. You don't go to Steinmart and say, well, I got a dress there once and I'm never going back. Women love to shop. They're figuring out what they're going to get, the earrings to go with that necklace they got. They can't get everything they want at one show. Probably there's more pieces on their wish list, and it's about the fellowship too, girls. So that's about all I have time to go over. There are several objections. This sheet looks like this, and I would love for you to pull it up on the Terrell's website. And like I said, make some index cards with the objection and the answers on the back. Girls, you're going to do great. We're so thankful you've joined our Premier family. Stay close to your Premier mom, keep practicing, and don't be afraid to ask people for these jewelry style shows, because getting the women together is so important and they have such a good time. They love the jewelry, but mostly what's important is the fellowship and the togetherness and the friendships and the fun that is had and the friendships that are made. So I wish you the best, and my prayer for you is that you will be blessed as you're a blessing to others in Premier. Thank you. Bye.